Chairman Dada, I'm ready when you are.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm gonna call the meeting for the Palm Springs Airport Commission Wednesday, May 17th at 5:30 p.m. to order. Vice Chair, will you lead us with the pledge of allegiance?
Yes. I pledge allegiance. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you, sir. Has the agenda been posted?
Yes, Chairman Dada, the agenda has been posted.
Can we have a roll call, please?
For the commissioners that are attending on Zoom this evening, can you please unmute your mics at this time? Commissioner Adams is excused. Breslin? Present. Padilla?
Present.
Burke?
President.
Corcoran?
President.
Dada?
Here.
Feldman? Hedrick?
President.
Hughes?
Present.
Michaelis?
Present.
Miller?
Here.
Payne?
President.
Hyde? Here. Slama?
Here.
Suero? Wise?
Here.
Weissman?
Present.
Yeah,
President.
thank you, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Christina, and I was on a Zoom call with Commissioner Feldman, he is Europe, and he is of us.
Thank you.
All right, I will entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
I move. Second.
A motion and a second, any changes to the agenda?
We do need to take a roll call vote.
All right.
No worries, new procedure. So the response will be yes, no, or abstain. Breslin? Yes. Badillo?
Yes.
Burke?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Dada?
Here.
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Michaelis?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Hyde?
Yes.
Slama?
Yes.
Wise?
Abstain.
Wiseman?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But this is for, just to clarify, Commissioner, Wise, this is to accept the agenda. This is to clarify, this is to accept the agenda for the meeting. Just accepting the agenda. We're going to-
Acceptance of the agenda.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, accept it.
And actually,
9 minutes. Sorry.
no, you know what, and I'm glad I said that, because it actually reminded me that I actually need to request that we remove an agenda item, my apologies. I would like to request that we remove item 8B for marketing update. We do not have that item for this evening. Deputy Director Myers will be presenting the May and June marketing update at the June meeting, so my apologies. So the motion would be to accept the agenda with the removal of agenda item 8B, so I'm gonna do the roll call again, my apologies. Breslin? Yes. Sorry, Badillo?
Can you repeat what is the vote again?
We're removing agenda item 8H because we do not have that item to present this evening.
8H.
Sorry, 8B, sorry, 8B marketing update.
Yes.
Burke?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Dada?
Yes.
Hedrick?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Michaelis?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Hyde?
Yes.
Slama?
Yes.
Wise?
Yes.
Thank you. Wiseman?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. Sorry about that confusion.
At this time, Christina, I'd like to open this meeting for public comments, limited to 3 minutes on any subject within the purview of the commission. Do we have any speakers this evening?
We do not have anyone scheduled for public comments this evening. We'll give it a moment to see if anyone in the room or on Zoom would like to speak at this time in public comments. If you're on Zoom, please raise your virtual hand at this time. There are no public comments for me.
Seeing none, I will close public comments and I will entertain a motion. The approval of the meeting 13 February meeting. Second.
I have a correction.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I've got a correction. I wasn't absent at the meeting because you can tell through the meeting I made some motions. I just got in a little bit late.
Okay, I will take a look at that and make the correction. Thank you.
So we
Okay.
still have a motion from Commissioner Brennan and a second from Commissioner Hendricks. All in, I'm sorry, roll call.
I just wanted to take a look at the minutes real quick. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We'll take a roll call vote again. It's yes, no, or abstain. Breslin? Yes. Badillo?
Yes.
Burke?
Abstain.
Corcoran?
Abstain.
Dada?
Yes.
Hendrick?
Yes.
Hughes?
yes,
Michaelis?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes, as revised.
Payne?
Yes.
Hyde?
Yes.
Slama?
Yes.
Wise?
Abstain.
Wiseman?
Abstain.
And Young?
Abstain.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'm honored and would like to introduce to the entire commission our new fire chief, so Chief Alvarado. Thank you for joining us, and we will give you a few minutes to share with the group your bio, please.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Paul Alvarado, and it's an honor to be the Palm Springs Fire Chief. So I've got a whole 2 weeks under my belt here in the city of Palm Springs, but I come from the city of Long Beach. I was with the city of Long Beach for 27 years. So for 3 of those years, I oversaw the Long Beach Airport. I was a direct liaison for all airport operations in Long Beach. So very similar in size to the Palm Springs Airport. We saw about 2 million passengers a year. Very close to the index, and very close in our operation as far as aircraft rescue and firefighting. So I oversaw our personnel, I oversaw our training, worked very closely with the director of Long Beach, and I'm happy to say we have a great director here in the city of Palm Springs. So it's been a real honor to meet with our director and start planning to ensure that the Palm Springs Fire Department keeps up to speed with the growth and development here at Palm Springs Airport. So I will look forward to working with this commission, ensuring that we're meeting any needs and any questions that you may have as well. But utmost is ours is passenger safety, number one, and that's at the terminal as well as on the aircraft. And number 2 is business continuity. We understand it's important we get out there quickly, we mitigate any type of incident, and make sure business and travel continues. So those are my marching orders for my troops. And I'm gonna make sure I keep a very close eye on our operation, make sure we provide the very best service here. So I'm really looking forward to working together, and I can answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for the chief?
Yes, sir.
Do you see a need for having firefighters on site at all times as the airport grows?
We do currently. We have 3 aircraft rescue firefighting apparatus at Fire Station 2 at 300 Cielo Road. So 24/7, those 3 apparatus are dedicated to the airport. And with working with the director, we're looking at enhancing that service as well in the coming year. Adding actually a supervisor to those apparatus. So that's going to really enhance the command and control of an incident. So within 3 minutes, the expectation is they're on scene. With the enhancement of having a captain now available to them, you're going to have a supervisor immediately on scene controlling any incident we may have. And that may be within the terminal, a medical call, are out on the airfield. Later on down the road as we grow, we plan on having even more oversight. But right now, we're excited with what we're doing. So we are dedicated 24/7 to this airfield. Yeah.
Any other questions for the chief? Anybody from on the Zoom?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Chief, I know you've only been here for a very short time, so you can tell us later. But is there any equipment that you would recommend that we currently don't have that you would strongly suggest we look into?
Ultimately, we have some cutting conversations regarding our aircraft foam. Many of you may be familiar that there's some forever chemicals that are currently within the AFFF that the industry has used. So we're going to meet with our airport director to see what that transition into a AFFF foam that's free of those forever chemicals to start placing that on our apparatus. So for the environment, for our personnel safety, for everyone else that may come in contact with that, that's certainly one of my priorities. But we already have that on our agenda coming up with the director and look forward to working through that.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Seeing none, chief, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's a real honor. Pleasure to meet everyone
Yeah,
here.
and you're welcome to join our monthly meeting.
Thank you, sir. Welcome to Palm Springs. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here.
At this time, I would like to introduce, and we are honored to have a new colleague and commissioner from Rancho Mirage, Keith Young. Can you give us a brief bio of yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks, Chairman Dodd. So I'm Keith Young. I've been a 20+ year resident of Rancho Mirage. Delighted to represent my fellow residents and the city to this commission. I'm a physician, currently in private practice, but spent over a quarter century in the volunteer clinical faculty in the School of Medicine at UCLA. Become really interested in the last few years in how organizations navigate change in this kind of crazy and uncertain world in which we all live. I've done a fair amount of training and coursework in those areas. Specifically, I'm interested in how an organization can go about providing human services that evolve and ultimately do that with a laser focus on things like sustainability. And so in this particular area, I'm especially intrigued by things like sustainable aviation fuel and people, those kind of things captivate me. While I know there's a lot of industry expertise in the room, and I certainly don't pretend to have that, my hope is that some of these areas of insight that I might have might be a good complement to that expertise that is around this table. And so I look forward to working with each of you, getting to know each of you better, and again, hopefully adequately representing the city that has appointed me to this position. So that's me all I do, and look forward to working with you.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome on board. All right, it's done this time. We'd like to see if we can get the chair of the noise committee. Give us an update.
It's actually going to be Commissioner Burke. He was our interim chair at the last meeting.
Here we go.
Let's make some noise. Yeah, you know what? The good news is it didn't make a lot of noise. So let's start the headline. So for the month of March, we had a total of 12 noise complaints broken down, 6 commercial, 4 general aviation, 1 military, and 1 unidentified noise complaint. Executive Director Barrett shared some data from a 5-year noise complaint comparison showing that we had a significant reduction in our complaints in 2022. And he believes that that reduction could be attributed to the community, of course, becoming much more educated about aircraft noise regulations. Executive Director Barrett also reported that the FAA held a noise forum for West Coast airports, discussed effectively managing noise-related issues, and instead the forum was also focused on brainstorming on what comes next for the new generation of aircraft. And we had no public comments during the meeting. That is it.
Thank you, Commissioner Burke. We move on to HC parking capacity update.
Good evening. My name is Ramon Sanchez. I'm the interim operations manager. Usually I attend the subcommittee for operations. Let me try to share my screen here for you all. Give you an update. There we go. This is a visualization of our property and where our parking lot is located. Our public parking has 4 sections, section A, B, C, and D. And we have an overflow lot, the south end of the property. Overall, our capacity for lots A through D is a total of 880 total spaces available. And then I've broken down each section by the spaces in those sections. Section A has 106 total spaces, section B 244, section C 245, section D 285, and the overflow lot has a total of 837 spaces. For the month of April, lots A through D had a combined average of 704 spaces occupied for an 85% average for the month of occupancy. And then I've broken down the individual sections to give you a little idea of how busy those sections have been for the month. As you can see, section A was 99% full average for the month. And then section B was at 84%, section C was at 87%, and section D was at 64%. And although the overflow lot had average 40 spaces occupied for the month, and that accounts for 5% of that lot. But it's important to note that we had several days in the month where we had over 100 vehicles, and our peak day was 157, and that would be the first weekend of Coachella. We had to use the overflow lot for at least 157 vehicles. Any questions?
Well, is there any, this is great stats for the month of April, but is there anything that you've got, Ramon, that does, year for year and shows the trends and the concern you guys articulated last month that we're getting to peak?
Right, I don't have an additional visual for you on that on comparisons from a year-to-year perspective.
Is ADM giving you this data and are they tracking?
That's correct.
They are. Okay, so they have that data that they share with you.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other question?
When do we hit no turn? People, the mayor gets turned away, can't park at the airport. Or our fire chief can't park at the airport.
I think we still have a ways to go. I know we've reached some capacity months where we've used the overflow lot quite frequently with a significant amount of vehicles, but we haven't reached the point where it's going to be there daily. But in the near, we're looking at redesigning the overflow lots so that we have dual parking capability, so that we don't run into that short-term parkers and whatnot up front.
Thank you.
So,
Any question from commissioners on the Zoom? Seeing none, thank you, Ramon. We move on to concession and Jeremy.
Yes, all right, thank you. I'm gonna share the schedule if I can here, because that was one of the topics of discussion from last meeting. And all right, it's up there on the screen. So we've been working with the concessionaires, both MRG and Parodies, almost on a daily basis. Trying to fine tune the schedule as well as meet with them on a host of agenda items. We probably have maybe 20 agenda items that we review on a weekly basis with them. Plus we meet with them individually every week as well. We're constantly going back and forth with emailing and coordinating, and actually Parodies is here today with their smart design team, actually here today and tomorrow, reviewing a bunch of the spaces and trying to fine tune some of the design. So one of the recent submittals that we've received is for Vino Bolo, and I think to date we've received maybe 3 different 30% submittals. So we're moving in a good direction. I'm constantly on the concessionaires to try to make sure that we're trying to keep up with the schedule as best as possible. Obviously, some things are going to slip a little bit here and there for various reasons. But this is the schedule that we coordinate on and update on a weekly basis. So if it does move around a little bit. But one of the things that has not moved is the completion opening date. So Although maybe some 100% submittals or permission submittals may get slid a little bit. The completion opening date has remained the same, so. If you have any questions for me, we have to answer anything concession related.
So the big one, if they were numbered, you went down to number 8 is the F&B commissary kitchen. That's the big one that we've talked about in the past, right? This is the one that this is kind of your anchor construction,
Right, so if you look at the top, the temporary power for cooler boxes, so we've already received the temporary cooler boxes out on the AOA, and what they're doing now is preparing to hook those up to the electrical so that they can now shut down the current commissary, right, where they're using the coolers. They're gonna move everything over to the new boxes, and that's when they can actually start to demo the interior space of the commissary and start to move forward.
So February 23, that's a major date for you, for the commissary.
Yes, if you're, which one are you looking at,
F&B about mid in the schedule.
The commissary.
Yeah, that's 2024.
Right.
For open, yeah,
Yeah, so
yes.
if David Feldman was here, he'd say, and I'm gonna ask this question for him, when can I get my copy? So where's the copy?
Right now, you can get it from PSP.
Yes, but in the senior schedule.
Yes, so, you'll see, let's see, so commissary open, that'll be, like you said, 223. So the way we're gonna essentially phase it, you have 9 cities. You'll have multiple copy options that, so we're not gonna close everything at the same time, so we're gonna be basically phasing it, right? So you'll have the El Mirasol open and selling copy. And then we'll close down PSP copy. So you'll always have something available. We're not gonna be closing everything at the same time.
So the 223 would be the first copy of the new generation copy.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the good news is, it's all on schedule. Right, there may be some fluctuation in the middle, but these dates, we're still living in these dates.
Yeah.
Any
No,
questions
everything-
on this? I'm sorry.
Everything's going very well.
Good.
Now, we had a presentation 2 months ago with Fuse, correct? So Fuse is gonna be doing something in power and displays as part of the new advertising.
Correct.
And this schedule will reflect that or will not reflect that? There'll be 2 different schedules.
2 different schedules, and we'll
Okay.
provide that to you at a later date, like.
Okay, yeah. In the power and infrastructure, is there any crossover when it comes to infrastructure for use? I'm thinking Wi-Fi network technology or power or displays or anything like that. Are they completely separate?
With the concessions program,
Yes,
with,
correct,
food and beverage,
yeah.
there, as far as I know, we have not identified any crossover.
Okay. Thanks.
I
Any
have a
questions
question.
from Zoom? Please.
I'm assuming this is probably going to come up again in future meetings, this spreadsheet that you're showing us with the master schedule. And I was wondering if for the future, we could have a row that has the sort of original completion date that we thought was going to happen. And then as things slip, we'll be able to see the difference between that row and the new completion opening date.
I think by using that, though, there was just an estimated date, and a lot of that was dependent on how quickly things go to council and how, you know, the whole process, so. I don't know if that's something that you really want to see. I don't know if that's something you provided as part of the original,
So
RFP or not.
we did have an original, some original proposal dates that were included in the proposal that was sent to city council on December 5th. But since then, we have had some dates where we've been working with MRG and Parodies to make sure that they're able to meet what they say that they can actually do with construction. So we have had the dates are definitely different than what the original proposal had said, because that was based off of an estimate of what they were proposing at that time. After we've had our ad hoc meetings and our, weekly meetings, and like Jeremy said, we're constantly in communication with them on the process. So some things have changed from the original dates. So, and some of the dates are changing, they could change, like, for instance, I'll just throw out, I think we had our temporary kiosk, originally they were gonna start on, or open by 9/1, but we had to push them out a couple of days to get them to open on 9/3 because of some delays. So there is some days that we've had, or there is some change in schedule from the original proposal.
But they're not material.
Correct.
So how are we tracking the slippage? So you're saying today that 9/3 for the kiosk is the date that happens 2 months from now, it's not 9/3.
Well, that's when we go to the contract and we would hold charities and MRD to the contract. So so what the term of the contract say is what we would hold them to.
So
then
my
the
perspective, from my perspective, we could put this column that's here now as the original. And from here on track slippage, but it's just a way for us to keep track of what's changing as we see this in the future again.
Yeah, and for the airport, what we intend to do is if there's something drastic that we think that needs to be brought to the ad hoc committee's attention, we pull the ad hoc committee together and we bring that to their attention and see how we want to move forward with it. So that's what our intentions are with the schedule as well.
But Commissioner Wiseman, I mean, for your purposes, if you're just wanting to track, month over month what's happening, we can certainly add that column for you.
That'd be helpful.
Any other comments? Thank you, everyone. We move on to 8E, financial summary, and our admin manager, Mr. Carpenter.
Good evening, everybody. I have provided the financial summary in our packet. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Any questions on the financial summary?
How long would it be to talk about a discretionary? So, there is money that is spent that's committed to, there are a variety of different things that you're committed to, you're regulatory, prior agreements, the city, etc. Is there a way to track, discretionary funds that you could provide to us on a monthly basis? Is that a difficult problem to do, or is that something?
So discretionary means another word for us in finance source, or another term for us. Are you talking about FAA discretionary or surpluses in the airport budget?
Oh,
Okay. In terms of surpluses in the airport budget, Victoria could probably speak to that. In terms of FAA discretionary, that's really kind of a ad hoc thing for the FAA. So as we apply, they're either approved or not approved, and those have been reflected in the financials as we get them, but we never know when those come about, when they're gonna advertise them. They just tell us to submit an application, and if they're available, we'll do that. And typically they're gonna be on capital projects where we've already have something approved and there's some type of cost overrun. And that's where they come.
so you're, to put what you just said, the discretion is regarding the FAA saying, yes, I approve your request, ESP. And then that money has already been allocated to a particular function. So it's not money that is discretionary upon receipt, it's money that is discretionary because you don't know it's coming. So once you receive it, you're gonna apply it to whatever project's been correct. Got it. So then it would just be the airport discretionary, would be interesting. Is that easy or is that hard?
We do have it and we sometimes change it depending on if we have, how our projects are going and we can schedule those. So, I mean, if Mr. Garrett's okay with us providing that, we can provide that. Or maybe it could be something that we provide to the Budget and Finance Committee and discuss there.
I mean, I think we'll have to look at it and see, but it would most likely go to the committee first, but then we need to make it available to the full commission certainly.
Fair.
Just off the top of your head, is it $10 or 10 million? What does it look like?
We're talking about discretionary funding, so we've requested, well, we have I don't know, I'm gonna say that. I don't like throwing out numbers without having actual
Fair.
data.
Fair, okay.
Any questions for Mr. Victoria or Ms. Carpenter on the Zoom?
Commissioner Miller?
Yes,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to see, has the budget been officially given to the city manager's office yet?
So we did a study session and on the 8th of May with city council and reviewed some highlights of the budget. That has been provided and we intend to go to city council with the budget on June the 29th.
Okay. That's right. And any sort of comments back that you've heard so far?
Yes, city council was very in favor of the airport's vision and growth and expansion that we have planned for the coming years.
All right, very good. Thank you.
The city council meets on the 29th, I guess at our July meeting. That's when you'll be able to give us an update in terms of additional headcount that's been funded, things like that.
Correct, so the city budget is anticipated to be adopted on June 29th. And at that time, we expect the airport budget to be adopted with very little changes based on the feedback that we got, so.
And just to add, we did request approximately 50 new positions over the next 2 fiscal years. And we did have a lot of support from the city council.
We've heard the same. It's gonna be good news at the end of June for the airport, and hopefully the support that you need, and that we all need to grow, so. Fingers crossed for the 29th of June, but it looks good.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we move on to 8F. Christina and Perry.
So for item 8F, this item was brought to the commission at an earlier commission meeting where we had proposed that for the 15 items listed in the municipal code for the airport commissioner's power and duty, that the commission referred to those items and also connected to those items were either committee chairs, the executive director, and or the commission chair and vice chair were listed to each of those items. And the commission was asked to refer to those items when they were requesting agenda items and refer to those appointed persons that were listed to submit their request to, and then that person would determine if the item should go straight to the commission or if it's something that should go to a subcommittee first. At that meeting, we did not take a vote. There weren't any objections to it at the meeting, but we did have a commissioner voice concern that a vote was not taken. So this evening we're proposing this procedure again, and we'll take a vote to see if it is accepted. If it is not accepted, then we will see how the commission would prefer to move forward with requesting agenda items moving forward.
So
Any
you're-
questions?
You're proposing to put this to.
To a vote, correct. Any questions before we take a vote?
So you
Yes.
go through,
One moment, we'll be with you. Go ahead, Commissioner Miller.
go ahead.
Yes, I think I'd like to postpone this vote for 1 month. And the reason I would like to is, number one, I think there's other options that need to be looked at than this particular option. I know that the city council is, I would recommend that we emulate the city council and several of the other commissions on how they add different items to their agenda. I think every commissioner that's appointed should have the right to at least to propose an item to be put on the agenda. And I think every commissioner then has the right to second that. And if the commission votes itself to add that item, very similar to what the city council does. No, it's actually exactly what the city council does and what several other of the Palm Springs commissions do, then that's really the way it should be. I think I'm concerned that we're creating a class system on the commission where there's going to be commissioners who happen to be chairs of committees, but they have more authority to put things on the agenda than an average commissioner does. And I don't think that's the envisioning of what a commission was all about, or how the city ordinances read in terms of commissions. And so I would strongly suggest that we take this in the next commission meeting so that this can be studied and looked at and see what other commissions within the city do. I've just explained to you what the city council does and how they let their individual members add things to their agendas. And so I would like to do that instead of rushing into this with this particular item.
Any other comments? Paul?
Yes, I don't understand why there continues to be this concerted effort to be able to squash a individual commissioner's ability to add items to agenda. The process that is outlined here not only creates bottlenecks, but it creates really a system where the subcommittee chair really can override or veto a recommendation or a suggestion from a commissioner to place an item on agenda. That is actually contrary to how other commissions operate, not only in the city of Palm Springs, but other public commissions that I've served on, city of Indian Wells, city of Rancho Mirage, etc. I agree with Commissioner Miller to be able to delay a vote on this until we really look at what other alternatives there are. This is really being ramrodded through.
Any other comments from any other commissioners?
What problem are we trying to solve?
The reason why this came up is the amount of requests that we get. We're just trying to help staff take the time to look at these items and decide if they should go to a committee first or they should go to a commission first.
Christina, do we have our assistant city attorney on the phone?
We do, we have city attorney Jeremy Holm on the call, and this was actually ran by him first when we originally put it together.
Thank you, city attorney, for joining us. Any comments to the commissioners and their questions?
Just for comments on this. So, you know, of course, if you want to take a look at other processes that other committees use in the city, you're welcome to do that. This isn't necessarily a Brown Act requirement regarding on how to place matters on agenda. This is more of an issue of trying to guarantee efficiency and making sure that the meetings and all the agenda items are, you know, going to the appropriate subcommittees and getting to the appropriate parties before necessarily going on an agenda. But otherwise, you know, you're free to vote and delay the vote on the process, or if you want to have us take a look at another process.
Thank you for the comment. So we have Commissioner Miller, we have a motion to postpone this till our June meeting.
Yes, I'd like to move that we postpone this till our June meeting, and that we survey the other commissions at the city of Palm Springs to see how their individual commissions add things to the agenda, and to survey how the city council handles adding meetings or items to their agenda as well. I think we all know that if you've ever seen a commission or seen a city council meeting at Palm Springs. But I'd like to move that because I think this takes a lot further discussion than we have now.
Chairman Dodd, I do have a clarifying question, please. So, and I believe this was one of the meetings I was excused from, but my understanding is this was brought up before, and was there no discussion on this the last time before we in effect started acting on this as a way to prioritize? I guess I'm asking what has changed.
Yeah, there were no objections brought up at that meeting that we did present this at. And just to clarify a little too, also the purpose of this is so that the commission focuses on those 15 items in the municipal code that are the powers and duties of the commission, to try and help everyone focus on what is in the municipal code that the commission should be focusing on.
And a further clarifying question, if the motion, Commissioner Miller, we vote on that this evening, should that not pass, do we then continue on as this agenda item to vote on what is in front of us?
That's the reason it's on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Miller and I believe second, right, from Paul.
Second, yeah.
So we have a second from Commissioner McNeil.
So we'll take a roll call vote, and the motion is to postpone this item until the June commission meeting.
Yes.
And so the responses again are yes, no, and abstain. Breslin?
Well, wait. The second part of the motion was also to survey what the other Palm Springs commissions were doing and adding items to the agenda and the city council.
Yes, so noted. Breslin? Okay, no more talking. No. Padillo?
Yes.
Burke?
No.
Corcoran?
No.
Dada?
No.
Hedrick?
No.
Hughes? Hughes?
You're on mute.
I
She's
see you're
saying
saying no.
No.
I'm sorry, no.
Michaelis?
Yeah.
Miller?
Yes,
Payne?
Yes.
Hyde?
No.
Slama?
No.
Wise?
Yes.
Wiseman?
Yes.
Young?
No.
What's the?
So that is 10 no's to 5 yeses. So there will not be a postponement. So we will be voting on this item this evening.
Please. So I'll make a motion that we approve this agenda item as
Second.
Can we, I'm sorry, I need a clarification. So we approve this process.
Correct.
It goes through a committee that, let's say, it's a finance thing. So it goes through Ken,
we have.
then it goes through the chair.
No, it goes through, so. You raise a question about how we do capital or how we do financing. We have a committee meeting where everybody who's on the finance committee addresses that with Ms. Carpenter. We come to a conclusion. If there is an issue, if we decide jointly there's an issue, we'll bring it to the commission. If we decide in our discussion that we fully understand and Ms. Carpenter was explaining what our issue was, we leave it there. But
And the summary of what was spoken about.
the summary of whatever we do is told to the full commission anytime we have a subcommittee meeting. But I, as a chair of a subcommittee, you call me up and say, I have this question. I'm not going to say, that's not worthwhile. We're not going to do that. That'd be wrong. Everything that's going to be brought to me is going to be discussed by the committee and Ms. Carpenter.
Right, so again, let's say we want to change how we do reporting. So the finance committee approves that change. We want to see it in pink paper, not in paper.
That's right.
Once you approve at that committee level, then it comes to the floor of the commission, and then there's discussion. It becomes an item for discussion and action.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and then the commission as a whole, if there's a motion to move, then we approve, vote, et cetera.
Right.
So the gate you jump through is there.
That's right. And I don't think any committee chair, or at least not me, is going to, squash any request made by any commissioner. That would be wrong.
And the committee chair can also say, I believe this should go straight to commission.
That's right.
It doesn't have to go to committee first.
But most likely, I think it's best that we do. Sometimes questions are not really understanding the process. And, in the case of budget, that's where we have this record of these partners.
And there's any comments?
Thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioner Wiseman?
Yeah, I was just wondering, at the moment, who is the final arbiter of what makes it on the agenda?
All agenda items are ran by the executive director, the chair, and the vice chairman, and the committee members too, when appropriate. Or excuse me, committee chairs, excuse me.
Okay.
Commissioner Bedell?
I still think every commissioner has the right to be able to add an item to the agenda by implementing this process. What's going to happen is you will reduce the voice of the non-Palm Springs commissioners. So the commissioners from Rancho Mirage, Indian Wells, La Quinta, et cetera, if they would like to have an item on the agenda that is contrary to something that is not, that is contrary to Palm Springs, not important to Palm Springs, it will never get agendized. That is not the correct methodology to be used here. We shouldn't be implementing a system that is not used elsewhere. We should be using something that is standardized across not only the city council, but within other city commissions within Palm Springs itself.
And Commissioner, with I respect your comments, but we took a vote and the majority it ruled, and we move on to Christina and Harry.
So before we move on to the next vote, I just want to make sure, do we have any other questions?
Again, I think this is creating a caste system. I think every commissioner is equal and should have a right to be able to add things to the agenda. And of course, you can add they have to matter within the 15 items in the city code, but I don't think I've heard yet of a commissioner asking for something to be placed on the agenda that didn't involve any of those 15 items. I think we're creating a bad thing, and I think every commissioner is equal and should have that opportunity to do that. And the commission itself can vote not to put it on the agenda if they want. So I think this is very bad precedent.
So I'd like to make a comment. There is a reason why this is happening. All right? There's a reason why this is happening. It's because in the last year, commissioners have overwhelmed the staff with requests that are clearly outside, in our opinion, the swim lane of what are the responsibilities of the commissioner. We have taken enormous feedback from city council and from city staff about the pressure that the commission has created for the staff, which we already know is understaffed by at least 50 positions. All right? The reason we're doing this is to try to give the staff breathing room so that they can prioritize the issues that are important to the commission. Now, Paul, I hope and I commit to you that if there are important issues from you or from anyone representing any of the other cities, that those will move through the process and will make it to the agenda. But at this point, for reasons that many of you understand here, because you have been responsible for overwhelming the staff, this is why we're doing it. I will work hard to make sure, I'm sure Octave agrees, that if something's important, it will make it to the agenda. And maybe what we should do is just give this a chance. Because right now, we have overwhelmed the staff in the last year. Our meetings are going hours and hours and hours because of agenda items and questions that go beyond the swim lanes in our opinion, and have created a lot of problems. So let's be honest about why this is going on, right? That's what's happening. And now, one last thing is, let's try it. If it doesn't work, we should revisit the issue, and I'm open to that. But that's why we're here, that's why we're doing it, and that's why it's getting the support. And we just have to be in a position to support the staff as we get to the next 12 months and then they get fully staffed. And then I think we can revisit this and look at the process differently. But let's be clear why we're here and what it's on. And those of you who are new should understand that's what's going on.
And I hope all the commissioners remember when I was appointed as the chair, one of the first thing I brought up due to overburdening the staff to cut down the monthly meetings to half. But I was overruled, and respectfully, I agree with that. And hoping that Vice Chair Cochran just mentioned that hopefully when we are fully staffed a year from now, the staff will absolutely put everything that is requested on the agenda. Having said that, Christina.
I'd like to respond to Commissioner Cochran's comments. And what I'll say is that's not why we're doing it. I reject categorically everything that Commissioner Cochran said. And without spending a lot of time taking it apart point by point, I agree with Paul's comments and Scott's comments that you are disempowering individual commissioners by taking this action. And I regret that we are going to do this. And I don't believe and don't think that Commissioner Cochran articulated what's really going on here, but I'll leave it at that.
Thank you for your comments.
I have one more last comment. So when we decided to participate on the airport commission, we chose to be on the commission. We didn't ask, please, we chose to participate. That entails a certain amount of commitments time-wise. We spend time reading reports in preparation for the meeting. We spend time for the meeting. Sometimes the agendas are heavy, sometimes they are not. Whatever the agenda is and however length of time is required, we have the fiduciary responsibility to be here and to also to sit through all the agenda items and have an adequate discussion in order to serve the community. Okay? If we don't like it, if somebody says it's too long, the commissioner has an avenue out, they can quit. But the same with the staff. The staff feels overwhelmed right now prior to getting their additional FTEs. I'm sorry, but this is what the job is entailing. And if they feel that they're overwhelmed correctly, then they should also then possibly look elsewhere. But for the time being, this is what the job requires. And so I'm sorry, but we have a responsibility.
And Commissioner, but I respect that, but we all decided to move forward, make a change or not, and the majority would like to see it, this item be moved forward and discuss it, not to move forward for the June agenda.
We are taking a vote still on this.
I have,
Yeah, Commissioner White?
so I agree with the premise of this idea to filter things up through the subcommittees and to align things to the 15, powers and duties. But where this proposal is falling short is that it lacks an equitable process for agenda items that are deemed not to fit in these 15 powers and duties. And so that's what I would like to see in this amended in this proposal, is that there would be a way for agenda items that are blocked essentially to be reviewed by everyone and decided, rather than being bottlenecked through 7 people.
Let's take the vote. We did right.
The other thing that I think Commissioner has not indicated is that we're in a very rapid growth period. So yes, there's going to be a lot more topics, a lot more agenda items, a lot more time for the commission, because we're in a period that has never been seen by the airport in terms of changes to terminals, to concessions, to parking, to land. So you're doing a lot of different new airlines. So there is a lot more going on at the commission level than there may have been 3, 4, 5 years ago. And so, yes, I can understand that commission meetings are going to be longer, and there's going to be more work on behalf of the staff because of the growth that we are experiencing and the decisions that have to be made for that growth. And so I don't think we should use the excuse of, well, we have a lot more stuff to do as one of the issues. I'm just very concerned about democracy, and I'm very concerned that we're demeaning each individual commissioner's right to be able to bring something up, at least to a vote of the commission. That's a democratic principle. And a democratic principle is that if someone can get a motion and a second, it's a democratic principle for the whole commission to be able to vote. And if the majority of the commissioners don't want to talk about it, then they don't vote, they vote no, and it doesn't get on the agenda. But if a majority of the commissioners want to talk about it, then it is, and it does get on the agenda. That's a democracy. We all are under a democracy. And I think this is not a democratic type of motion. And we can phase it like, oh, yes, it is, for efficiency or for whatever. But when you put the power of the entire commission in the hands of 3 or 4 people, you are no longer under a democracy. And so I just think it's just democratically wrong to vote for this.
Respect your comments. I would like to see our assistant city attorney comment on that. And sorry to put you on the spot.
Ultimately, for a process of putting matters on the agenda, it's up to your decision. I think we've heard a lot of comments. Unless more commissioners have, I'd recommend taking a motion in a second and getting a vote going. But otherwise, it's up to the commission to decide what process they want to use going forward.
Can I ask Mr. Holm a question? Please. So, Mr. Holm, I have a question for you. So wouldn't it be more prudent, since possibly around a third of the commissioners are terming out in June, wouldn't it be more prudent to have the new commissioners coming on board decide how they're going to be adding items to the agenda versus if some of the old guard like myself that are terming out?
If that's a consideration that you guys want to take, that if you want to take into account the new members coming in, then you're free to consider that. It just goes into how the commission wants to be governed and how it wants to control its processes. I'm not going to comment on whether or not this is necessarily a great process for new commissioners, or whether it absolutely is a great process for the new commissioners. Ultimately, it's in your guys' hands here. But I guess I'll clarify. I don't see anything that violates the Brown Act in this procedure here. So.
Having said that, knowing that we did take the vote and what was majority wants this to be.
Well, we have not taken that.
On the
vote.
next vote.
Yeah. So now there's been and you did make a motion
I made a motion.
to approve the procedure for requesting agenda items as proposed. So again, the responses are yes, no, or abstain.
Don't we need a second?
Second.
Todd said that.
I was- Okay. Breslin?
Kind of to clarify how that was worded,
So the motion is to approve the procedure for requesting agenda items as proposed.
Yes.
Padilla,
No.
Burke,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Dada,
Yes.
Hedrick,
Yes.
Hughes,
yes,
Michaelis,
Yes.
Miller,
No.
Payne,
No.
Hi,
Yes.
Solana,
yes,
Wise,
No.
Wiseman,
No.
Young.
Yes.
That is 10 to 5, the motion's been approved.
Let's move on to item 8D. Executive Director.
Thank you, Chairman and Commission. So I was asked to report out on employee class and compensation study for the airport. I did have a discussion with our HR team. They are conducting a study citywide for all city positions. That's budgeted for the fiscal year 24 budget. The airport will be included in that. We also offered up to our human resources department that we could provide them with additional information that's aviation specific from the American Association of Airport Executives, as well as Airports Council International, regarding our compensation relative to those other airports in the United States and in Canada. That will take place sometime over the next year. I'm not sure when that will take place in terms of the HR study. They're trying to play catch up as well. But they do have it in their budget, and I was asked to provide that information to you. So there is my report. I'll take any questions.
I've got one for the fire chief. You're ready there, you've got a staff, you have similar problem, technical people. From your perspective coming in, how do salaries look when you think about staffing moving forward? Are we par with similar size cities, or are we under sense based on salary, benefits, and living in this area?
You know, let me get back to you on that. Just to take a better look at our comparable cities here in this region. Let me get back to you, because I was more familiar with the LA area. And actually participating in the management association, I really took a hard look at those numbers. But let me get some time to kind of get my feet on the ground, take a look around here, and I'll certainly get back to the group here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any question for our Executive Director? Seeing none, we move on to 8H.
All right, I've got 8H as well. That's projects and airport capital improvement program update. I do apologize. I have been slammed with this last week, so I was unable to get my written reports out. So I'll be doing them verbally today. And then providing a written report at a later date for a future commission meeting. But just wanted to update on a couple of things. So we are moving forward with the airport master plan. We did have our initial meeting on the airport master plan with the working group on May 3rd. That involved a presentation not only of the consultant's assessment of the inventory of the current conditions, but also a presentation on the aeronautical forecast for the next 20 years. We are essentially looking to double our passenger growth in the next 20 years from 3 million to 6 million passengers. It could come a lot sooner than that, maybe even later. It kind of depends on what the economy does and what the airlines do from strategic business planning. But that aeronautical forecast is very important for the purposes of guiding the development of the airport. That's one of the components of the master plan that gets approved by the FAA. And so the working group did a review of that, asked some very substantive questions about what if this scenario, what if that scenario, what airports we're competing against, what if we brought in additional international traffic. And we really got into some robust discussion about that. So the draft working paper for that will be posted on the master plan website. It should be going up any day now. And simultaneously, what we're doing is we're sending a letter to the asking them to approve the aeronautical forecast for the airport for the next 20 years. Are there any questions about the master plan before I move on?
I'm sorry, the last part, you said the FAA was asking to approve what?
They're being asked to approve the aeronautical forecast.
Any question from commissioners on the Zoom? If none, this even covers your executive director's report.
No, actually, I have a separate. So, can you provide that now? The first item on that is Turo. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Turo, but they're basically a peer-to-peer car sharing company that acts as a rental car company, essentially. So what happens is someone books a personal vehicle, someone else's personal vehicle on an app. They're able to arrange time with that personal vehicle, rent it, bring it back, and get commission and leave it. And they pay essentially a fee to Turo, which is the app provider, as well as the cost of operating that vehicle to the private citizen. We recently found out that Turo has been operating on the airport. They have been doing that for some time.
I'm shocked.
And we are working with Turo on an agreement so that we can capture some of those revenues. Obviously, they're a competitor to the rental car companies. And that puts the rental car companies in a bad position. We kind of want to create a level playing field for those entities. So Victoria's been working on that for the last month, defining what that organization would be under the city ordinance, and then identifying a pathway to an agreement, a revenue sharing or a revenue agreement with Turo, so that we can collect on their revenues. So that was the first thing. The second thing on my report,
We don't have it, correct? That's.
we don't have
Yeah,
it,
it's
so
not.
that's coming in the future. Probably next month or the month after.
We hope to bring it to you at the next commission meeting.
Question to
Yes.
how did you find out? And is there any intent to get revenues from their initial start date at the airport without telling me?
We would have to look into that. I'm not sure how they track, you know, I'm sure.
They do. They know.
track it,
They
but
know.
I'm not sure how we're gonna be able to capture that data. Now, how did we find out? Really, it's in our ops folks, you know, our management folks walking around. And usually it's a passenger coming out going, hey, I'm trying to find my car, locating in spot, or lot A, spot 58. We're like, where do you
The
tell
big
me?
thing on the window with the key that didn't tip anybody.
So, so we did some digging, and actually Turo responsibly reached out to us and said, hey, we know this is happening. We would like to enter into some kind of agreement, get ahead of the curve here. So they're apparently learning from some of the challenges that Uber and Lyft went through when they started entering the market at various groups as well.
Would you want to go back and get lost revenue? I mean, and they've been here 6 months, a year.
I'm not sure.
You
I
want
can
lost
tell
revenue?
you from personal experience, it's at least since 2021.
Well, there
Sounds
you
like,
go.
it sounds like a chunky change, say all this.
So, you know, we would like to, that's something that we can dig into in another conversation, just,
We got an attorney on the call. Mr. Attorney.
So I know that there's been ongoing litigation of Turo with other municipalities. There's a question of which entity regulates them under state law, whether or not they're a transportation network company that's regulated by the California Public Utilities Commission. If they would have oversight, it would fall under their purview. So that they're just so cutting edge. It's a little bit uncertain as to what would the proper process be if we go back, but to see if you want to capture revenue, or to see how much revenue would be on, you know, on the table, basically, essentially, too, by the way, to justify the process.
Right. Any other comment?
all right. And so moving on, we were asked to provide monthly update on the unhoused situation at the airport, and I'm happy to report that that continues the problem continues to be, at least for now, mitigated. We do have onesies and twosies that come and stop by and, you know, try and get some shade or some water, but they're not staying, they're not living in the terminals. We don't have tents going up or cooking in the lobby, so, the ordinance that we implemented a couple of months ago, it appears to have had some impact on users of the airport from that perspective, so just wanted to make sure that that was reported out. And then a couple of other things, so wanted to let the commission know that we did recently hire an aviation planner for the airport, Nikki Gomez. She started on Monday, so she's day 3, and we already kind of threw her to the fire, so she's getting a lot of experience in the airport. She had none coming into Palm Springs, but she had a lot of planning experience, so we're getting her up to speed pretty quickly on airports. She seems to be rolling with the punches so far. Again, it's only day 3. We'll see if she lasts a month. But that's going to be very helpful in us as we start to go down the pathway of, you know, getting further and further into some of our capital programs and making sure that development happens over time. We also made an offer on a project manager to help with some of capital development as well, and making sure that those projects continue to move forward. So more to come on the announcement for who that is, but we do anticipate that person to start on May 30th. That will definitely be a relief for 3 of us, Jeremy, Victoria, and I sitting in the room, because we are all managing some very heavy projects that are requiring a lot of our time right now. So that person is an engineer, understands how to work in airports, has worked in airports before, and understand what it takes to run projects through the system. So we're excited to get that individual. And then the final announcement in my executive director report is we want to congratulate Christina. She's been promoted to executive program administrator. Thank you. Spent most of the day crying in my office yesterday because I have nobody to schedule my lunches now, but we know she's going to be a fine fit for that role, and I know she's looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Congrats, Christina.
Yeah. Any questions on the Zoom for our executive director?
Quick question.
Now,
I remember a few months back, you had showed us a slide detailing sort of the hiring pipeline that you had and how things were going. And I was just wondering if how that has progressed since then.
I can tell you that human resources has been very motivated to fill airport positions, and it's probably the 50 positions that are requested that they're like, how are we going to do this? So they pivoted very quickly to helping us to fill the positions that we need. In addition to those, the individuals that we hired and promoted just in the last couple of days, we're already recruiting for maintenance supervisors. We're working on Daniel's marketing and communication person. I know some of the chief positions for the fire captains are very high on that list. And we'll probably come very shortly after the fiscal year budget is approved. So there's no shortage of effort in getting some of our positions filled. And I think that will continue over the next few months at least.
I'm pleased to hear things.
and add to your comment that is not official, but I've been told that there be a dedicated human resources individual helping Harry and his staff, and also aggressively moving forward to fill the 30 positions.
That is accurate. In fact, human resources is also recruiting for that position right now.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just clarification, homeless, is the well gonna reopen as a cooling center? Has that happened, or is that going to happen? I've heard stories around that.
That is a normally a city council level decision. Normally I just kind of get informed, hey, this is happening and we're doing it. So that's something I can ask them and bring that back, but I.
So it hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened. Yeah.
So Assistant City Attorney, can we discuss this item is not on the agenda?
Sorry, you discuss an item that's not on the agenda or?
Yeah, right now, Commissioner Payne had asked about the cooling center.
Generally, we're going to try to limit discussion of items that are not on the agenda. If you know, a one-off comment like that, I'm generally trying not to step in to stop that. If it turns into a huge discussion between the entire commissioner, that might be an area where I'll jump in. But you know, at this time, I think just note that I think it might have also come through the just general discussion of the homelessness. So I wasn't necessarily looking to jump in there.
Thank you.
I do want to add that there is an article that's out that says that starting on June 1st, the during the hot summer months, Marshall Village and Kitchen has partnered with Riverside County to open up the access center, which is located at 225 Upscale Road. So they're gonna have a total of 20 beds there, and it's scheduled to end September 30th.
That's the former boxing club that we own.
Yes,
Right.
right. They created, I believe, 20 beds
You're correct. Yeah.
and first come, first served. All right, having said that, we move on to item number 10. I was approached through our executive director, requested by Commissioner Payne to bring in a group to do this commission, a P3 presentation, which is a public-private partnership helping the airport. And in discussion, we were going to bring this group at our June meeting. The group is requesting a 30-minute presentation followed by a 15-minute Q&A. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I recommended that this commission makes a decision, should we bring this group in next meeting and go through this process. I recommended and suggested that this item should come to the next ad hoc, long-term ad hoc committee, which will be meeting in a month or so probably again. They wanted to see the temperature and the majority of the commission. So Christina, would you like to see if you can take the support from the commissioners?
Could I explain a little bit more about what, so the purpose of this is, yeah, the purpose is it's called a primer or a education. So P3 is something that's very complex, reasonably political, used to good effect in some places, used to terrible effect in other places. It's something that possibly we could look at for landside. It's in, I think, master plan discussions for landside. So this is an education for the commission. What is it? What to watch out for? How to think about it? What questions to begin formulating in your mind to then decide whether or not you want to do it. So this is a long road, first step. The idea is to get something unbiased, objective, and an ability to answer or ask questions of knowledgeable people that have done it for decades. So that's the intent.
And again, the decision you're gonna make is, should it come directly to the entire commission or should it go to the long-term ad hoc committee?
So I need a motion. I don't know if we want to make, if someone would like to make a motion to add the P3 101 presentation to the June commission agenda. And we vote on that, or if someone would like to make a motion that the P3 101 presentation be presented at the working group, master plan working group meeting.
So the P3 is a financing option. And having worked on them, they're heavily complicated. And they are also, as you suggested, political, and they're also fraught with issues in me. My concern is having a P3 company come in and talk about it is really not a unbiased, presentation.
To clarify, it's not a P3 company. So it's not somebody, it's not an Accenture, it's not somebody that makes their money consulting to you about P3s. That's. No, I agree with you.
Who is it?
It's called a company called WT Partnerships, and they work below, they're like a C. So they execute. So they have hands-on knowledge, so they don't finance, they don't loan money, they don't do any of that stuff. And again, it's education.
Yeah, I previously to the finance committee sent around a bunch of information on B3s. I think it's about 60, 70 pages. Which maybe that could be distributed beforehand if we decide to do this. It's pretty complicated process.
I would like to see what your temperature can, having some expertise, and Commissioner Ping must have had expertise to bring them in.
I mean, personally, I think it's a little early because we're probably 2 or 3 years before even considering the financing.
Yeah, I mean, so the airport staff in general, we've been doing exploratory work on it, but it's been pretty extensive exploratory work. It's been looking at other case studies with other airports who have successfully had a P3 executed, as well as those airports where there were significant challenges, such as Denver with their Great Hall. We've also, in fact, just within the last week, I've been talking with P3 attorneys who have negotiated some of those deals, those pitfalls, and went to P3 conference and San Diego, all those things. So we're still kind of in the background looking at this, but we're not ready as an airport to move the ball forward quite yet, because we still need to capture and understand it, and we still need to get an appetite for what that looks like. And at the city council level, in the city, with the city manager, so that helps the decision making on the presentation anyway. That's kind of what we do.
Any comments from commissioners on the Zoom?
I'm definitely interested in it, but I think probably to take a half hour of everyone's time at the main meeting might be not ideal, and I assume that anyone can go attend the ad hoc meeting, not as a commissioner, but as an observer. Would that prevent us from asking questions if we were an observer?
So the working group meetings are not public meetings. We could present it at a budget and finance committee meeting potentially.
I would like to make a motion and thank you to bring this group to the chair and the commissioners in the finance committee, and they can come back to us in June and give us their report.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none.
I'm sorry, to clarify, are we asking the group to present to the finance committee? The finance committee then comes back and says, here's what we saw, we think we shouldn't, et cetera, correct? Yeah, okay, thanks.
So the motion is that the P311 presentation will be presented to the budget and finance committee. I will do my best to coordinate with Commissioner Ken Hedrick to schedule for June, pending the committee schedules, committee member schedules. So we will take a roll call vote. Please respond with yes, no, or abstain. Breslin?
Yes.
Badillo?
Yes.
Burke?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Dada?
Yes.
Hedrick?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Igles? Yes. Miller? Miller?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Hi.
Yes.
Lama?
Yes.
Wise?
Yes.
Wiseman?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Thank you. We have a unanimous vote.
Thank you, Christina. Commissioner Padilla brought it up, and so what Vice Commissioner has said that if you bring something up, absolutely, we will entertain.
I also think that just with this, there will be some time in the ad hoc committee, long-term planning, where this may be a really appropriate topic. I'm not sure, there's 5 meetings we have planned, so the other thing I'd like to hear is your point of view, Ken, and the subcommittee's point of view about when and if, and out of that plan, you drop the proof.
Yeah, and actually, according to the ad hoc committee, the finance part of it is really about a year out.
Yeah, I think it's meeting number 3 when we do that,
Thank you. Having said that respectfully, I have a commitment and vice chair has agreed to take over.
I'm handing it off to Todd because this whole, so Todd will close the balance of the meeting.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It looks like, at least I think I have been paying attention. It looks like we're still on number 10, so are there any other commissioner requests or reports?
Anyone on Zoom for commissioner requests?
Okay, moving on.
I have a question with regard to protocol. So when the chair and the vice chair leave, we've had Commissioner Hendricks last month. Chair the remainder of the meeting when after I've left and now you are. So what is the order that really doesn't defeat?
Well, the vice chair was not here last week.
I know, so then it has to you.
Well, no, it didn't pass to me. He just asked me.
I know, and there is that asked me.
Yeah. There was no, he could have asked you. So.
I have to leave here, or are you okay to take over?
I'm just asking you the protocol in place.
No, there is not a protocol in place. Jeremy, do we need to have a protocol in place?
You know, usually some of my other public agency clients just do a quick vote just to choose someone. It usually isn't a controversial item just to select someone to take over for the rest of the meeting. That's usually how some of them do it, but you don't necessarily need to have a protocol in place. You know, you don't have to have the last survivor type of protocol.
Okay,
Thank you.
moving on to number 11, report of council actions, past and future. Christine, there's no action with that, is that correct?
That was, no, it's not, that was provided in the agenda packet.
Right, as well as number 12, receive and file.
Correct.
Okay, future committees, any future committee meetings to share at this time?
Working on, since David's not here, we are working on scheduling a operations committee meeting, for June, so that's in the works right now.
And budget.
And we will be working on budget, yes.
Okay, thank you. And we do not need to vote on adjournment, is that correct?
That is correct. The last meeting, or we have been making a vote to adjourn the meeting, but now that we're doing a roll call vote for everything, I did see that the city council does not do a vote for their adjournment. I spoke with city attorney Jeremy Holm, and he agreed that we do not need to do a motion and a vote to adjourn the meeting.
Okay,
So why do we follow city council protocol for certain things and not on other things? It seems ready. Just that.
We can take a vote for the commitment if they want. No, I'm saying, if you'd like, we can take a vote, or we can take a vote.
would you like to make a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second? Second. Christina, do we have a roll call, please?
Breslin? Yes. Badillo?
Yes.
Burke?
Yes.
Corcoran? I'm sorry, Hedrick?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Douglas?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Dean?
Yes.
Ty?
Yeah.
Solana?
Yes.
Wise?
Yes.
Wiseman? Wiseman? You're on mute.
Finally,
Great. And with,
good night, everyone.
Good night.
with that, we are adjourned to our.
Thank
Oh,
you.
sorry, how can I forget our meeting number? Adjourn to our June 21st regular meeting. Good night, everyone. Thank you. Good night.